Are you happy with your life? It seems like a pretty simple question, but pretty complicated to answer sometimes. People ask us all the time, "How are you doing?" "I'm okay." Maybe okay doesn't lead to a life that you're happy with. So, I think that the greatest joys that we get out of most of the things in our life come from the hardest decisions. And if you're not feeling like you're super happy with your life, maybe it's because you're just sort of coasting and you're not making any of the difficult decisions that actually bring happiness. I heard a good quote the other day. If you don't sacrifice for what you want becomes the sacrifice. This is the Retirement Mentality channel. I'm Jeff. I like to try to change your mentality about retirement by sort of talking about my own personal experiences and antidotes. And today I want to talk about whether you're actually happy with your life. It's something my wife and I have been discussing. We just moved here to Spain. We've been here for about 6 weeks now, so we're still adjusting to things. We just got outdoor furniture, so we're very excited about that. And, moving to Spain was a hard decision, and hopefully it brings us a lot of joy. But leaving family and friends and all those things, that's why I say it's the hard decisions that, bring you the most joy. We were fine in Florida. Everything in Florida was fine. We loved going to the beach. I love fishing. But it just sort of felt like everything was just okay. We weren't really experiencing joy in life. And that's when we sort of decided we need to shake things up. We moved to the Virgin Islands, and we lived there for 3 years. The first time we sort of were feeling a little bored, and I like to say we get itchy feet and they need to move. So that was a great experience. We went back to Florida and we're like, let's try something else. So we're going to split our time here between Spain and back in the US. But one of the points I want to make is basically nothing has to be wrong with your life for everything to be okay, but you can still want to make it better to make yourself happier. I like to say there's two different kinds of decisions that you make in your life. There's one where a big steel door closes behind you and there's no handle on the other side and there's no opening it. Once it closes, it's closed. This doesn't happen very often, but things like having children is one of them. You can't undo that one. But pretty much everything else, getting married, you can get unmarried. Moving to the Virgin Islands, you can move back from the Virgin Islands. Moving to Spain, buying this house, we can sell this house. All these things are undoable. You could lose money, you could lose time, you could have made a wrong decision, but there's very few steel door closing behind you with no handle that never can open again decisions in our life. And I think that's one of the main hindrances of people is they're just so afraid to do something. Well, what if I move to Florida and I don't like it? I'll move back to Ohio. Well, what if I quit my job and I get another job? Well, maybe you can get your old job back, maybe you can't, but you can get another job. There's just people are so afraid of change that I think they put up with lots of things that just make their life okay, because changing them is hard. But the joy that, it's a risk reward thing there that people are just not willing to take the risk for the reward. And this leads to two things. One thing it leads to is complaining. It just like the hair on the back of my neck stands up every time I hear someone complaining about their job sucks, their work, where they live sucks, their town sucks, their street sucks, their house sucks, their car sucks. Change it. Just change it. You can change it. Whenever, I don't know, maybe when you listen to this, you'll hear people complaining more often. A lot of people don't even realize they're complaining, and then people want to sympathize with the complainer. So someone says, my car sucks. If you think your car sucks, you should see my car. People love to empathize with people, and so then these complaining sessions just turn into a bitching session, and everybody's bitching about how much everything sucks. And I think this is getting more prevalent in today's world, and hopefully you can recognize when people are just fucking complaining, and you can just say, well, then change it. And one of the biggest life changers that I have done in my life was I don't really do New Year's resolutions, but maybe 10 years ago, I found I was one of these people that talked a lot about things that I'm going to do, but that never actually got done. And I made a resolution or a life decision that if it comes out of my mouth, it's going to happen. If I say I'm going to start this business, by the end of the year of that coming out of my mouth, it has to happen. If I say I'm going to move to Spain, I move to Spain. If I say I'm going to move to the Virgin Islands, I moved to the Virgin Islands, and I became much more of a doer than a bullshit talker after I consciously made that decision in my head. And I think the complaining leads to comparing also, and this is one of the things that leads people to not be happy, when you're constantly comparing yourself to somebody else, and maybe they have more money, more cars, a bigger house, less kids, more kids, one marriage, two marriages, whatever it is. You know, we find ourselves comparing ourselves to other people. And this is basically a finance channel, and I've talked about my finances several times, my own real actual numbers on this channel. And I say half the audience probably think I'm poor, and the other half probably think I'm rich. And somewhere in the middle, there's a few people that probably relate to me that have similar things to what I have. But I don't give a shit, because I'm comfortable with where I am. I just went, a friend of mine is in Spain doing a motorcycle tour right now. And I just drove 2 hours and went over and spent the night in Pamplona to go hang out with him. Then I haven't seen him for 20 years. And I don't know, he didn't tell me how much money he makes, but I know it's significantly more than me, and his wife makes significantly more than my wife, or what we ever made probably in our whole careers. But he looked at me across the table and he's like, Jeff, you made it. Like, you've done it. And I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, you're making 10 times more money than I ever made. He's like, yeah, but I'm still working to make that money. And here you are in Spain. You lived in the Virgin Islands. You're living in Spain. You don't have to get up and go to work every day. He's like, I always knew you'd make it out of everyone I know. Sometimes I don't look at myself and think I've made it. I don't look at myself like that. I do think I'm pretty happy in my life. But I was happy to see my friend be successful. And this is another thing that leads people to be unhappy through the comparing, is they're never happy to truly be successful, truly be happy for the success of your friends. And it's something that somebody pointed out to me maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And it's another thing that really clicked in my brain. We get very jealous of our friends, especially, whether we think that we do or not. And it's very hard to be happy for the success of your friends if they're doing better than you. Whenever your friend is not doing as well as you are, and they get a promotion at work, you're like, oh, congratulations. And they get a new car, congratulations. And then they surpass you. And then you're like, that son of a bitch doesn't deserve that. Look at their big new house. Oh my God, they're just blowing their money. And all of a sudden, when they have more than you, you're not as happy and excited for them. And my wife and I talk about this a lot, because we have some friends that we've seen that were equal to us that have just gone off the charts. And sometimes we find ourselves being a little jealous of them. And we have to remind ourselves, like, they worked their ass off. They deserve it. Just because they have more than you, be happy for them. And it's something we have to consciously do. So I know for someone who's never thought about it, it's much easier to not be happy for your friends. So be happy for your friends, and it'll help you be happy with yourself as well. Another thing that keeps people from being happy is they don't know what they want. I talk a lot about this on this channel, that when people retire, they work so hard to get to retirement, they never thought what they wanted to do after retirement, and they don't know what they want to do with their life. And so just deciding what you want is like a huge step to having a happy life. So if you're just trudging through life and taking the kids to school and working your job and trying to save enough for retirement, or whether you just retired and you're just trying to figure out a daily routine, whatever, think about what you actually want, and then decide to have it and make the steps necessary to get what you want. And you'll definitely find yourself being more happy. Another one that I think is preventing people's happiness is not letting go of perfect, I guess would be a way to say it. Well, we'll move to Europe after the kids graduate from college. Well, I had a lot of people tell me when we lived in the Virgin Islands, like, oh man, we would love to do something like that, but we have kids. And I was like, my wife is literally a teacher at a school full of children. A lot of them came from somewhere else. Like, they have children in St. Thomas. So you can move your kids. I know sometimes it's hard. My parents moved me in their 3rd grade and then the 10th grade. And I cried and it was horrible and I had to leave my friends. But then I made new friends, and now I have friends all over the place. And kids can adapt. Like, that's one of those things I put into the excuses, which I haven't even talked about. I don't even know if we're going to get into excuses. It's a lot like comparing and complaining. But, letting go of perfect. Well, once I have $1,338,264, then I'll quit my job. And the goalposts move a lot too, for whatever it is that we want. Like if we're going to make this decision once this happens, and then we move the goalposts a little bit more, so then this decision never gets made and those goalposts keep on moving. So just letting go of perfect and just deciding what you want and then going for it will get you there a lot quicker. And the last point I'll make of things that may be preventing you from having a truly happy life is giving yourself a break, giving yourself space, allowing yourself to have the things that you want, not having guilt to give yourself something. Like, I think it's hard for a lot of people to give themselves credit. It's not, I went for a run, so I deserve this chocolate bar. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just I felt some guilt around coming here. I just lost my father, and now my mother is alone, and I have a lot of guilt about leaving her behind. But I'm still just a plane ride away. I lived 5 hours away by car before, so I could have been there in a day if she needed something, and I could be there in maybe a day and a half now. My brother lives on the other side of the U.S. in Washington State. My mom's in Georgia, so he couldn't be much farther than he could. So you have to allow yourself to live the life that you want to live. And the rest of the people are going to have to just understand that it's your life and you have to live it for yourself. And that's okay. And that's not being selfish to let yourself have your own life. And that's a hard one. But I think that prevents a lot of people also from having the life they actually want, which is a happy one. And this might be a controversial point. You might tell me that you disagree with that, and that is the definition of being selfish. And you can leave me a comment down below if you want. And leave me a comment down below if you feel like you have a happy life, or you're close, or I provoked some sort of thought in your brain that may help you have a happy life. And if you like that video, go watch this video next that talks about reasons you might be afraid to retire if you're getting close to retirement and you're feeling apprehensive. Go watch that one next, and maybe you'll like that video as well. And subscribe to the channel if you like the content. Give me the thumbs up. Do all the things you know you're supposed to do. And thanks for watching.